Hey YouTube, what's up? In JT Sasuke, I'm here to bring you guys my review for The Flash. So jumping right into this one. So this episode was basically a pick me up for Barry. Um, after him battle with Zoom, Barry is in a wheelchair for the first half of the episode because Zoom broke his back. That's why he couldn't feel his legs. Now, normally he would be paralyzed from the waist down, and I was actually expecting him to be paralyzed permanently, and somehow during the episode they would have to bring him. They would have to bring his legs back, but it makes sense with the way the Flash works, both in the show and in the comics. He can heal from basically anything at super fast speed, so of course he's going to be back to normal. But his spine was broken; it healed itself, and that was pretty cool. But this one really, like I said, was a pick me up for Barry because throughout the episode he couldn't use his speed up until the very end. That was really because he basically that was basically because Barry was his own worst enemy. Sorry for stuttering. And what I mean by that is that Barry's mental blocks. He always doubts himself. So if Barry feels like he can't do something, he won't, because he is going to mentally stop himself from doing it. And when Barry is confident, that's when he actually is able to do a whole hell of a lot, including using his powers for pretty extraordinary things. So the person that usually picks Barry up is Iris. Joe tries, but he doesn't listen to Joe for some reason. And usually Iris, but I like how they brought in his dad. And I like how they used his dad's expertise in medical practice, because, he was a doctor before he went to prison. So I like how when they were just examining, when they were just giving him an examination, and Dad came in, he talked to him in private and looked at his X-rays and just like, yeah, man, you're all fine. So he basically said it's not anything physical, it's something mental, and he was able to actually give him the really endearing speech. And what he said was along the lines of, I've had my hope crushed. I've had just everything just taken away from me. I know how it feels to be down in the dirt and the depths of despair and not know how to handle it. Because every time I looked at people when I was locked up, they would think that I killed the woman I love the most in front of our child. And for a long time, I didn't know how to handle that until I embraced it. And I was able to embrace that because of you. You kept giving me hope. You believed in me, Barry. And that's what allowed me to get through it. And now I'm giving that back to you. I believe in you. You can do this. You got to pick yourself up and embrace that defeat. Because Barry was really upset about the fact that not only did Zoom beat him, but he also hit Barry on a mental barrier, and he gave Barry a mental barrier because he paraded with Barry's almost lifeless body, unconscious body, basically around the city, saying, "This is your god. This is your god. He's not a god. He's not a hero. The time of the Flash is over." And that has to be something very traumatic, especially when he embraces the fact that he is a hero. He's the person that's trying to save Central City. So it kind of sucks when you're perceived as a hero and everybody perceives you as a hero, and you just get beat up and then you just get shown around your home city as nothing. Especially when Zoom really didn't have a scratch on him anyways. It was just really kind of fucked up in a way. And that's what really is holding him back. Um, he was able to overcome it in the end, and I'm happy about that. Now, this was also a not a general, Gorilla Grodd episode. Now, what I like about Gorilla Grodd episodes is the fact that Gorilla Grodd is cool, especially since he's getting smarter, he's learning. I didn't like how in the first season he would use like small sentences or like short sentences or phrases to get a point across. In this episode, he was using full sentences for the most part. And I thought that was cool. Obviously, Gorilla Grodd was basically trying to make more gorillas like himself, so that way he wasn't alone, which is very understandable. But at the same time, if you make more intelligent gorillas, especially those of that size, that's gonna be a little dangerous. He ends up actually killing a couple people after making them do his bidding, and he psychically attacks Caitlyn and brings her to his lair. And what he ends up doing is trying to have her make him make him like some type of, I guess you could say, like serum that he can then inject into other apes and other gorillas and other primates so that way they can become intelligent like him. She knows this is wrong, but she really sympathizes with him because Caitlyn's a sympathizer. So they basically have to save Caitlyn without Barry actually being able to help because he's still going through mental blocks, which allows for Harrison Wells to dress up in the Reverse Flash suit, which they kept for some reason. Barry actually activated his speed during his mental block period just for a moment to attack Harrison Wells because of PTSD, which I thought was a really amazing moment. As I think probably one of my favorite moments of the episode, just to show that Barry is not completely over this. But they end up doing it, and Harrison Wells actually does a kind of good job of fooling Grodd. Grodd catches on to it, but at the same time, he doesn't. Like, he's skeptical. And he actually smacks Harrison Wells at one point in time, but Harrison Wells is able to sit there and let him know, yo, I am actually him. I just been away for a while. I was able to get away, and then stabs him with the serum that would overload his brain. Eventually, what they end up doing is using a breach to send him to another location, and that location is actually Ape City. For those of you that don't know what Ape City is, and I'm pretty sure I'm not saying that correctly, but basically Ape City is this place in the comics where Gorilla Grodd is a part of a society of other intelligent apes and gorillas, and that's where he ends up going, and I like that, and I like the fact that Harrison Wells actually knew that was a place and decided to send him there. And they really had to use Caitlyn because Caitlyn was really the only person that he could trust. With that being said, we also have to talk about Cisco. Cisco basically vibed the fact that she is destined to become Hawkwoman. And that's basically it. They had a date. It didn't go well because of what he vibed. He ended up canceling right there. So he ended up getting her chocolates and roses. I believe it was chocolates and roses. I think it was just regular flowers. I don't know. But either way, he ended up getting chocolates. He ended up getting her chocolates and flowers, and came up to her after she was closing up shop. And she made this little sarcastic comment, and just like, "Well, I'm allergic to chocolate, and I think flowers are a waste of time." And I was like, "Ooh, you fucked up." And then she was just kidding. But he kissed her, and they kissed, and he vibed again that it was actually her, because he thought it was a man, but it was actually her. So that was really just setting up for Legends of Tomorrow. But with that being said, it was a pretty good episode. Not as good as last week's episode, but it was a pretty good episode. There's not going to be another episode coming out next week. I believe the week after is when Flash and Arrow come back on for the season. I believe it's the season finale. Oh, not the season finale, the mid-season finale. And then after that, we probably won't have more Flash or Arrow until like March. But with that being said, comment down below, let me know what you guys thought, and subscribe to my channel for more Flash content. I'll see you guys later. Peace.